A very warm good morning to all of you. Hello and welcome to the 10th episode of Digital India Podcast on FIR Podcast Network. Yes, you heard it right. This is our 10th episode. This show is weekly updates brought to you by staff and students of Web Marketing Academy, and I am your host, Manasi. This gives you the latest updates in the digital marketing world from India. Today is the 12th of August 2015. And we are giving you updates of the last 7 days. Here are the major headlines. The first story we have today is about women's safety and how Modi government has asked phone makers to add a panic button on the handsets. The second story is about the Vakrangi says to open 37,000 centers as a part of its tie-up with Amazon India. The third story is how India tried to ban porn and failed miserably. The fourth story is about the Supreme Court calling for a new law to regulate social media. The fifth story is about Twitterati slamming rounding up of couples from hotel rooms. The sixth story is about social media proving its power as Unilever feels the heat in India. Those were the top headlines, and here are the detailed stories. The first story is from the Economic Times.com, and it says women's safety, Modi government asks phone makers to add panic button on handset. In its quest to ensure women's safety, the Narendra Modi government of India has told mobile phone manufacturers they need to incorporate a panic button on handsets sold in the country. The administration is of the view that emergency response apps can take too long to access in a rush. Configuring one of the existing buttons on a phone for the task would be much simpler and quicker. Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi told ET that handset makers were amenable to the suggestion. The first round of talks have been done, and I have been told that the manufacturers have agreed in principle, she said. To make it child-proof or prevent accidental operation, the button will require a long press or a double press. The action will send an SMS to a set of numbers that will also provide a location information. With Modi pushing for the change, the Ministries of Communications and Women and Child Development have been working in tandem on the proposal. Initially, there were resistance on a couple of issues, namely on the expenditure to be incurred and the design of the handsets, said a senior ministry official who of course didn't want to be named at all. The move has also resisted on the ground that there were apps available in the market for the same. The manufacturers were told that pressing a button which will be on the body of the phone is much more easier and time-saving than accessing an app in a moment of trouble. The initiative was kicked off with Maneka Gandhi writing to the Communication Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, urging the latter to convene a meeting of handset manufacturers in this regard. That was another important story we had for you. And before we move on to the next story, we have an update for you, an awesome tip coming your way.
While we are recording the show, something happened, Google's Alphabet. So we would be covering that in the next week. Stay tuned for it. And we also had a discussion and a case study about Google's Alphabet and ABC.xyz. It was an interesting discussion today we had. We will report on that in the upcoming week. At the meanwhile, my first tool, I would say tools, if you're planning to set up an e-commerce site in India, here are some of the payment gateways. The number one is CC Avenue, double C, CCAVENUE. CC Avenue, that's one of it. And then there is Citrus, CITRUS. And there's another one called the numerical 2, checkout. And then there is Pay You India. Pay Zippy, PayZippy. Pay Zippy.
And here is the second story for today, and it is from the Economic Times, and they're talking about how Vakrangi says to open 37,000 centers as a part of their tie-up with Amazon India. Vakrangi Limited says it will open more than 37,000 centers across the country as a part of its tie-up with Amazon India to help the e-commerce giant sell in rural and semi-urban areas and leverage the recently created Jan Dhan Yojana accounts for payments. Now, this Jan Dhan Yojana is a bank account which the government is helping all the people in India to open, especially in the rural sector. Last week, the company said it signed a strategic partnership with Amazon to provide marketing, sales and pickup services through its centers called Vakrangi Kendras in India. Presently, with 12,568 Vakrangi centers in place, the aim of the company is to have 50,000 plus centers in the next 2 years, the company said in the statement. It expects to leverage its role as a player in the financial inclusion marketplace to help sales. The Kendras already serve as ATM, insurance and e-governance centers. Anybody can go to the nearest Vakrangi Kendra, select product from the tablets PCs available in the Kendra and order the products, make the payment and pick up the products at ease, the company said. Online payments could be made through rural India's Jan Dhan Yojana bank accounts, free accounts that has been given to citizens to bring them to the formal banking sector. For making payment, Vakrangi executing the Jan Dhan Yojana will make the payment through their bank accounts, or they can deposit cash in the account there itself, which then will be paid to Amazon, the company said. With that edge, Amazon is going to reach probably every nook and corner of India. That's quite a bit of strategy, and I'm like dying to see how this is going to figure out and mass out for Snapdeal and probably for Flipkart and all the other major e-commerce giants in our country. And the third story we have for today is from the economist.com, and it is talking about how India tried to ban porn and failed miserably. The Narendra Modi's government has left looking rather red-faced. Last week, it had quietly told telecom companies around the country to block public access to 857 porn sites, citing the need to protect public morality. Days later, on August 4th, the telecom minister Ravi Shankar Prasad backed down, saying the sites should not be blocked after all, other than any proven to be showing child pornography. The reversal coincided with another official climb down as the government in effect gave up important plans to change the way land is being bought and sold. Together, they suggest that Mr. Modi's administration is making a habit of misjudging policy and the public mood. In the case of pornography in India, what exactly went wrong? See, the ruling politicians bungled badly over porn. India's Supreme Court had heard a case earlier this summer from Kamlesh Vaswani, the man who had compiled the list of 857 porn sites, and sought a ban for an assortment of reasons, including the imperative to protect users of porn from their own base usage. Nothing can more efficiently destroy a person, fizzle their mind, evaporate their future, eliminate their potential, or destroy society like pornography, he had pleaded. The court sensibly declined to order the ban, finding that adults in India are perfectly capable of judging whether they are fit to look at pornography and fizzle their minds or not. In any case, as officials from the telecom ministry admitted this week, many internet users are well aware of how to circumvent national restrictions on access to website. What is hard to explain is the lack of preparation apparently made by the politicians before they ordered the ban. Mr. Modi's government is making a habit of demanding bans that intrude on personal behavior, as for example in March when the Home Minister Rajnath Singh said he hoped to see the eating of beef outlawed across the country. Similarly, the government this year banned the broadcast of a BBC documentary about rape in India, claiming an international conspiracy was underway to defame the country. Such gestures, along with the decision to close off pornographic sites, might be made in haste in order to please backers in the RSS, that's Rashtriya Seva Sangh. In any case, they appear to have been made without much consideration of a likely public backlash. And before we move on to our next story, we have another awesome tip coming your way.
My second tool is Easy Tap. EZETAP. The other day I was going to a restaurant and I saw this interesting payment system. Easy Tap is a device where they have their own mobile devices and customers can pay in the mobile using their credit card or debit card. And the thing about Easy Tap is it's reaching out to rural India, and there is a pension program that Easy Tap is working on. They're going after the rural areas and then they are trying to process a pension system which is pretty unique. So check it out, EZETAP.
Hey, thank you so much for that tip. And here is the next story from Times of India, and it is talking about how Supreme Court has called for a new law to regulate social media. Remember last week we had spoken about a story where Supreme Court has asked the government to show the kind of contracts it has with the social media sites. Now, the same Supreme Court has stressed the need for a new law to regulate social media to curb malicious and defamatory messages circulated online. Expressing concern over misuse of social media and internet, a bench of Justices Deepak Mishra and Prafulla C. Pant said, "We can ask Parliament to bring a new law. We have earlier also suggested Parliament to enact a law on other issues, and we can suggest it to pass a legislation on this issue also," the bench said while hearing a bunch of petitions seeking scrapping of criminal defamation law. The court's observation came when senior advocate L. Nageshwar Rao informed the bench that a message was recently circulated on WhatsApp that he was involved in a huge case. Rao told the bench that he came to know about the malicious campaign only when Secretary of Supreme Court Bar Association informed him about it, and he got a couple of other phone calls from various people. Well, that's the Supreme Court stressing on the need for a new law to regulate social media and curb the malicious and defamatory messages that's being circulated online. Here is a story from Times of India, and they're talking about how Twitterati slammed rounding up a couple from hotel rooms. Now, this was 2 days after the Malwani police rounded up around 40 consenting couples who had checked into various hotels along the Mud Island and the Aksa beaches to get some privacy. Tweets slammed the moral policing, and that went viral. Now, the couples were shocked to find cops knocking on the doors of their rooms. They were taken to the police station where they were insulted, and some of them, especially college students, were made to call up their parents. The couples were charged under the Bombay Police Act for indecent behavior in public, even though they were in private rooms. 3 cases were also registered under the Prevention of Immoral Traffic Act. They were fined rupees 1,200 for each before being let off after nearly 5 hours of questioning. The raid was carried out around 3 p.m. by the Malwani police team led by Deputy Commissioner Vikram Deshpande at several lodges, resorts and 2-star hotels near Mud Island and Aksa. According to a report published in the Daily, the episode left some of those caught traumatized. It said one 19-year-old was contemplating suicide because her parents had stopped talking to her. Another 21-year-old who had visited the hotel with her fiancé reportedly said she was slapped by a female constable when she protested against the action. The couple said cops first insulted them in front of all the officers and other couples and then forced them to call their parents. They also made the parents feel guilty as if the children had committed a heinous crime. They were taken to the police station around 5 p.m. and many of them were allowed to go only after 10 p.m. Mumbai police spokesperson DCP Dhananjay Kulkarni said that the Malwani police took action following several complaints from the public and local residents. On the same day, the police also picked up a lot of drunken men from Aksa Beach as well as 13 couples who were behaving indecently in public spaces on the beach. They were all charged. In another action, the police checked guest houses in the Aksa area and arrested 3 ladies from 3 guest houses. Some people found in guest houses were allowed to go after enquiries, said the police. And before we move on to our next story, we have another awesome tip coming your way.
My third tool is Zip Dial. ZIP Zip dial is unique, and India is known for missed call system. Basically, what we do is, if you want to call somebody or if you want to talk to somebody, instead of talking to them, we actually give a missed call, saying that it's understood in India. If you're in India, if you talk about missed call, you understand that you are supposed to return the call back. So this is a unique system, and Zip dial used this missed call system for solution. With Zip dial, you can actually give a missed call and get all the information about the company, and you can use it in various different ways. And this January, Zip dial was acquired by Twitter. So check it out, ZIPDIAL.
And the next story we have is from the Financial Times, and they're talking about how social media proves its power as Unilever feels the heat in India. Now, here is something that they have mentioned clearly on their website, and I'm reading this out straight from their website. It says, high quality global journalism requires investment. Please share this article with users using the link below. Do not cut, copy, or paste this article. Well, that's something that I want to share with you before I move on to this story in detail. Now, they're talking about how social media has proved its power. Paul Polman, the Unilever chief executive, likes to see himself as a social conscience of the business world. A former trainee priest who criticizes companies for prioritizing profits over people and the planet. But last week, the head of the Anglo-Dutch consumer goods conglomerate was put on the defense himself. Mr. Polman took to Twitter to rebut accusations that the maker of Lifebuoy and Dove soaps, Marmite and Ben & Jerry's ice cream ignored its own ideals while handling the toxic legacy of the now defunct thermometer factory in India. Unilever started feeling the heat a week ago after an eye-catching YouTube video called Kodaikanal Wand, starring a spirited 28-year-old sari-wearing Indian rapper, Sophia Ashraf, went viral. Now, Sophia Ashraf accuses Unilever, one of her former employer's biggest clients, of failing to clean up mercury waste from its former factory in the hill station of Kodaikanal in Tamil Nadu state. Viewed more than 2.2 million times worldwide since it was uploaded on 30th July, the video has helped draw roughly 60,000 signatures to a petition urging Hindustan Lever to clean the site and compensate workers affected by a mercury exposure. It has also prompted calls on social media for boycotts of Unilever products. Working on an active solution, Kodai, Unilever pollutes for several years already, Mr. Polman tweeted on Thursday. Determined to solve, need others too to help, and facts, not false emotions, he had tweeted. The crisis engulfing Unilever is a potent reminder of the risks of doing business in India, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has urged foreign companies to invest in manufacturing, and of how even the remote, long-simmering disputes can be abruptly catapulted to the global stage through the power of social media. They relied on the invisibility of Kodaikanal and did not really think the matter could become this visible, says Nityanand Jairam, a social activist deeply involved with the issue, who also adds that activists have also been stunned by the video's impact. We did not think it could be this visible. And those were the detailed stories for today. And before we close out this episode, we have a discussion on one of the hottest topics in India. Why I call it in India? Because it is almost unique to India, I must say. We're going to discuss about COD, that's cash on delivery. And to discuss about it, we have with us our very own Suresh Babu, CEO and founder of Web Marketing Academy. Welcome to the show, Suresh.
Thank you.
All right. And yes, what have we here? Oh my God, it's a new face at Web Marketing Academy, and that is Sumedha Bhatia. Now, she is a new trainer at Web Marketing Academy, and she was a program manager all the way back in the US. And yes, COD is going to be a new concept for her as well. So let's start talking with this. Yes, Suresh. So Suresh, COD, cash on delivery. What's your opinion about it?
One of the unique thing about COD is it happens mainly in India. We discussed about this before. How we Indians are, the culture and the nature of us is we don't have much of credit card because we are used to pay when we have money. That is an advantage here because we are responsible. We don't want to have, if we can't afford, we normally don't buy. It is applicable, and e-commerce sites took advantages of that, and it is going really well. I think Sumedha also lived in the US. There, everything is
credit card
based. Yes.
Not even debit card, I would
Exactly.
see. Everything is on the credit card. But I agree with Suresh that here, as an Indian mentality and the new things coming up, we feel that we would like to see, we would like to touch the product and then, want to buy it instead of, just randomly goes to the e-commerce site and just get it. I'll give you a small example of my father. He is still not, very happy using the credit cards or debit card, though he got it.
Okay.
He's still living in India and he is like in the old traditional family where he likes to pay as a cash than, using the debit card and credit card.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel, for him, credit card and debit cards are still, going to the ATM, withdraw the cash. That's about it. He don't feel like going to the e-commerce companies and, just buy it using the credit card or debit card. He would rather ask these top companies to buy the product and pay it cash on delivery.
My very basic question here is, we are all humans and we are all looking at e-commerce companies, and why is there such a difference in attitude when it comes to the US and when it comes to India? We're still paying for the same products. It's the same way that we're getting it. It's the same set of e-commerce companies who are operating all throughout. It's the same set of verification that we need, whether we are paying online and any other transaction we do, and yet such a huge difference. I mean, COD being so unique to India when everybody in the world probably has an e-commerce site. Why?
This is what I feel, the scam scare. My father is just on the Facebook, Twitter, more on the technology, more on the computers. In US, back on those days also people had, a very facility of internet and computers and all that. So my father feels that if he, for example, give his debit card, somebody can hack, his debit card or credit card. So he would like to pay, cash on delivery. The second, I feel, I'll take my mother's example where she likes to touch. She likes to feel the product. And she don't want to be in hassle where, if the product is not good, she will immediately say, sorry, this I will not pay because this is broken.
Right.
She don't want to go in the hassle of, returning back, calling it again and asking them to, take the delivery back.
Suresh, what about you?
It's really interesting to see how the e-commerce took this one to an advantage. That is one of my biggest thinking about this. How they thought through it, and because of that, Myntra.
Yeah.
Okay, Myntra was introduced this. When this was introduced, it completely changed the landscape because we Indians want to touch and feel, and then it applies also for online buying or anything. And another thing is the exchange program that they had. If it doesn't fit, you can just exchange. Those two things made the huge consumer change in the e-commerce industry. What do you think?
Yes, and yes. So we have a new face in our studio today, and that's Bhavna. Bhavna has been reading up about COD from the time Suresh discussed with her about COD, and she's a student at Web Marketing Academy. So yes, Bhavna, what have you read, and what is it that we're talking about here as, COD, cash on delivery, so being unique to India? What's your opinion about it?
What I think basically in India, COD was introduced only because of trust issues people have in India. I was reading about it, and a lot of places I read that, people don't want to pay for something they haven't seen. One is that. Second is they like the real shopping experience. So until, it comes to you and you see how it is, like how we go on window shopping. So till that happens, they don't want to pay for it. And as she mentioned it, also that, they worried about their cards being hacked, their information's being hacked. So these are some of the reasons I think in India, this is why it was bought in.
Even if you go to a store, their credit card machine or something, the swiping machine might not work certain times.
Totally. Even, yesterday I was with ITC Garden area. My husband is leaving for US yesterday, and then he thought to give me a treat. So believe me, 3 times I swiped my credit card and the debit card. I thought, oh, people are looking, what's wrong? And then my husband went in a meeting. There was some meeting over there in ITC Garden area as well. And then I have to call my husband that, can you please give me your card because it's not working. So this happens. And then later on, it seems their machine was broken. Something happened, and then the network issues.
And these are common, It's not like...
And now actually it's not just cash and delivery. It's also you can use your cards. They get the machine to your house, and you can use your swipe your cards as well.
Right.
So it's I don't know the term.
And I was reading 60% of the Indian customers are using cash on delivery. So the top 5 e-commerce companies, they have the option of cash on delivery, and 60% is a good ratio where most of us are using, cash on delivery. And I feel, it's not about India. So we have taken a churn from the China and Russia. So those are the 2 countries where it was a successful, a great grand success over there when people were trying to, do it cash on delivery, and India has just picked up.
Right.
Yeah. Even though cash on delivery has got a lot of advantage, from a brand perspective, I want to talk a little bit about the disadvantages of cash on delivery.
A lot of times we don't have cash. We all are so dependent on our debit cards and credit cards. We just don't have cash. So probably when the guy is coming and you don't have cash, you freak out. Oh, I don't have the cash. And you have to run to a ATM to draw cash. So that is one of the...
No, but if you look at it from a brand perspective, let's say we're talking about my product being, given out to a customer where I still haven't received the cash, and the customer is like, hey, I have to see it first. Okay, so when I look at products like that, if I'm a brand, I will also freak out because one is my product is getting out of the store without being paid, which means that, on the way if something happens, nobody's going to be responsible for it. I have to take the cash on it.
Yes.
Okay. And 2 is, let's say it goes out and the person says, no, I don't want it. Who's going to pay for the logistics? Plus it's an open piece, right? It's somebody would have opened it and looked at it. So it's an open piece. So from a brand perspective, it's quite scamming there because I really freak out as a brand person. I mean, if you're looking at it and me selling online, it's not something that I want to get into.
I think companies are facing this. They had challenges. Some of them it's easy and they want to play pranks. Some of them they just order and they don't want to do that because with all this fiasco happened, Big Billion Day, and these things happen, right? Imagine they are giving a lot of discount and it is going to cost them back and forth. So the logistic cost should be added in the product. So that becomes a challenge. These are some of the challenges. There might be more challenges.
I agree, Suresh, but I feel, in some of the e-commerce companies, they are adding a little cost overhead. So 15 to 20 rupees, I feel like they are adding more because of cash on delivery. So all of the companies have not applied, but few of the companies have still applied.
I thought it was for net banking they add more.
That's the cash on option, cash on delivery, and the other option. Like I have tried
You
once.
can
I
have
don't
cash on
remember.
delivery. They have a minimum. A lot of websites have a minimum for 500. That's when you can opt for cash on delivery.
Okay, so now that we are talking about logistics, here is an interesting article that I was reading about on Business Standard. Thank you, Suresh, for getting this whole article to me and showing this to me. Now, we're talking about Indian Post offices and how the post moves around, the logistics bit, how it gets delivered. A lot of e-commerce companies are using postal vehicles to deliver their packages. In fact, a statistics here says that cash on delivery from e-commerce is expected to touch 1,000 crores. That's about 150,000 US dollars. A crore in the financial year. Wow. And it was, mind you, it was only 500 crores last year. It was half of that. Okay. And I also have this news piece which I just read out to my audience where it says that Vakrangi Limited, they have tied up with Amazon. Okay. And they already have 37,000 centers. They're acting as ATM right now. That's in the suburban areas and the rural areas. What they've done is they have tied up with Amazon. They have PCs and tablets in their centers. People can come, check out the products on their PCs and the tablets and actually order it on Amazon. So how will these people pay? Remember, the government did that Jan Dhan Yojana. Everybody is going to have a bank account. Every citizen of India is expected to have a bank account so that they can pull everybody into this corporate financial sector. They are either going to use that account to pay, or they could do a cash transaction there. So at these centers, you just pay on cash. So basically Amazon has that edge now where it's not just the urban masses who know how to transact online. It's everybody in the rural place also who can just get to shop on Amazon. What a brilliant way, right?
Wow. So basically they go to the center and pay the cash over there.
Right.
Very nice.
And they pick it up from Amazon.
And then they can pick it up.
Yes.
Very nice.
It's absolutely
So
brilliant.
it's something like you go to a shopping
mall.
Right. In this case, you're viewing it on the tablet or
right.
I think I want to talk a little bit about the logistic, how it is done in India, right? We came a long way from post offices. Post offices was the first place that, we started off with logistics, and maybe I want to give an idea of how it is done. Here in the US or in other countries, it is you have a vehicle coming in, but here you don't have that option. You have to go to the rural areas where there is no transportation facilities. There used to be a postman or a postwoman riding the bicycle and going there and delivering that, right? Even still it happens. That is something that maybe we can discuss about that one too. So what do you guys think? How did it came? Because now if you look at e-commerce sites like Flipkart and Jabong and Amazon, they have the two-wheeler, right? They have two-wheeler, they have maybe four-wheeler to a car, I think so, right? And then the big baskets has got the trucks. It varies from a small two-wheeler to a even bicycle, right? I mean, in rural India, that's what is happening. It is fascinating to see how wide variety of areas, not only urban and rural, everywhere they are touching and they're delivering.
I would like to add to that, even railways was being used.
Right.
Okay, right now, railways was being used to transport one thing to another, from cities. But right now, as I said, there's an article here in Business Standard which says India Post gets off trains, and they're talking about how trains are not anymore a reliable transport because they're unable to put up, closed circuit cameras in that. CCTVs are not allowed in trains. So which means that, you put your products into the train, and then when you get down there, if you don't find it, there's nobody responsible for it.
Totally.
So how they're using four-wheelers for a distance of 250 to 500 kilometers instead of train. That's another thing that, this article in Business Standard talks about.
Also, that brings up talking about logistics, transfer of drugs. Recently, I saw, that is also, it is a little bit people don't know, it's not verified, the courier service. So recently I read there was trafficking with drugs. What we used to do from a smaller city, we used to wait for a bus. We get the bus, and if I have to deliver something to my friends in, let's say, 3 hours drive, I'll get a bus, I'll talk to the driver, and I will give the parcel to the driver, and I'll tell him the bus number to go and collect it from this guy. We used to pay.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's something. No, it's still on. Even today, if you've got other districts, if you look at other districts in Karnataka and something has to come to Bangalore, since the frequency of buses are so high, okay, and then a driver makes that extra buck there that, he's like, okay, give me all the parcels, and he'll just put all the parcels right under his seat or on the engine there, and then he's going to get the whole thing. Oh, and by the way, they look at it and say that, hey, this is the person who has to collect this parcel, he's going to ask them to call. And if the numbers match, okay, and if the person has forgotten the phone, God forbid,
right,
okay, he would never get the parcel.
Right.
Okay.
Similar, I think, is like giving the cash. Day before yesterday, there was a person whom I met. He said, "Madam, I'm sending money at my parents' house in the village." And I said, "How are you sending it?" He is saying, "Oh, don't ask. I have to send it from the bank here. They send it to the local bank somewhere. My dad goes and and that person also collects a lot of money and give 75% of what the money is. If he's sending 100 rupees, so 25 is his pocket money." I said, "See, that technology have advanced, but he have no idea that how he can use." And I'm glad that mobile payments and mobile money is coming where we can just have a one click and the money can send from our mobile to the relatives' mobile.
Yeah, I think you brought up to a couple of points which a lot of people don't have a bank account.
They don't.
Right.
So how are they going to even buy, even what they want to book a ticket? They're finding it, they're asking me to book the tickets. Still, it's not there, and it will take some time. But that being said, the mobile is changing, and we see all this Paytm and UPay and all these things. Now Flipkart and other e-commerce companies, they have their own payment gateway. They have their own logistics, so they're not relying on anybody. So it's a huge industry in itself, and for a nation like India, it's a huge thing.
It is a huge revolution, I feel. Everyone, is going from the way we are and now, the way we want to be.
I think one of the banks have, transferring the money from WhatsApp to WhatsApp or message to message.
Right.
Yes, this Twitter hashtag that happens.
Yeah.
I think both Axis Bank and One More Bank is doing this.
The recharge cards, right? That is also a huge thing where people go and recharge, and then they can use it for
and the websites are broken, the links are broken all the time. You have to pay wait a lot, and then you call the customer representative, which you have to wait in a line, and then every time you have to talk to another customer representative. If the phone call disconnects, the same story. Now the free charge is there in one go. You just go to pay the Vodafone or Airtel, and then you get a lot of good coupons too.
Yeah, the coupons
It's a big industry.
value.
We saw a guy who lived out of coupon, right? In Bangalore, 1 month he lived out of coupon. That brings up another point which I wanted to discuss. We don't do this phone banking, right? I mean, using the credit card. In the other countries, you can call them up and you can give the numbers, the credit card number, and they would do it. But here, you never see it, right? You can't do it.
No.
You will have to actually swipe it.
Yes.
So that is a huge difference.
Right.
Whereas in the US, for example, you can call somebody, the customer care, and they'll ask for your number, your expiry date, and it's done.
It? Yeah.
Yes, here there's no such thing.
Unheard of. It's completely
It
unheard
comes down to trust issues.
Yes, because imagine giving out your credit card and your expiry number, and the next day it will be maxed out for sure.
I think we get like 1 million text messages saying that don't disclose your card.
Yes. And imagine the banks themselves send you an SMS saying that do not give your card details to anybody at all.
Any representative from your bank.
This would be useful because in other countries it's easy, they'll call us and tell. But if they come to India, they will have to physically swipe the card.
Yes.
There's no other option.
Yes.
Totally.
I went to Mumbai recently.
Okay.
And I used Uber coupons, and probably our drive
Went
only to Uber coupons.
Oh wow! Tell
I
me
used my mom's account, my dad's account, my sister's account, my aunt's account.
The loyalty programs make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a bit of discussion that we've done, from cash on delivery being unique to India, to logistics, to post offices, to trains, to e-commerce companies giving us a plethora of things. So now I want to say welcome to the show, Sumedha, and welcome to the show, Bhavna.
Thank
How did
you.
you like it? How did you like being on podcast here?
Oh, love it. Feels like a celebrity.
Awesome. Thank you so
Just
much
joking.
for being on the show and coming to the studio. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Bhavna. And thank you, Sumedha. Since it's a new show, it would be of great help if you could share your ratings and reviews. Please give us your feedback. For those of you who are listening to us and have something to say, you can leave a comment in the comments section below, or you could even write to us. And that will be SURESH. That's Suresh at webmarketingacademy.in. I hope you've enjoyed the weekly updates. Now that I'm done with this kind of recording, and I'm going to just hand over this piece to Bharani, who's going to edit all the podcasts for Web Marketing Academy. Hey, thank you so much for that patient listening to our podcast, the runs, the reruns, the takes, retakes, our coughs, and all of it. Thank you.
He brought up a point which we wanted to discuss. What is that, Bharani? Can you just share something? So before COD, there was something else, is it?
Yeah, it's
VPP.
called Value Payable Post.
Value
Payable
payable.
post.
Yes.
What is it?
Post office department. It's the same COD where you can order something
Okay.
and you can pay it to the delivery man.
Okay.
Flipkart just rebranded it.
See, this is discovery, right?
So it's just the same thing where
Same
we
thing.
get the
Probably it was
goods.
a postman then, now it's a delivery boy.
Right.
I see.
See, that
Okay.
time earlier.
Good to know.
when
And
we-
what that is called?
VPP.
VP.
What is that?
Value Payable Post.
Interesting.
See, this happened when we were in that zamana of TV. only teeny channels would sell. Okay, this is the time when television channels started selling products on television, and then they would give you a phone number where you had to order, and then VPP would come in.
Especially the Teddy brand, the train one.
Yes.
I see.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for
you.
that. Thank you so much, Bharni. And yes, for those of you who are listening, yes, Bharni is our editor. If you have anything to talk to Bharni about, especially the VPP bit, do mark us a mail. Catch you same time next week. Until then, this is Mansi, your host, signing off with a bye-bye.